Thanks for listening to the AC12 podcast. I'm your host, Mike Luke, joined by Ben One White and John Brogan. We got a lot to get to. We'll get to all the people in here that I'm sure the sky is falling and all of that. Arizona falls to Duke. Obviously, we're going to get into all of this. Games like this, guys. Now, again, it is annoying that Arizona loses, obviously. But at the same time, though, I'm also going to say, games like this, I can deal a lot more better with than a game like against Clemson, where Arizona was a better team than Clemson and just kind of folded. You got Caleb Love gave a virtuoso performance. Duke was just a little bit better. The refs certainly helped Duke in that, but at the same time, I also think that this team showed a lot of gumption. Duke is just a better basketball team.
Yeah, I think Duke is the best team in the country, quite honestly, and this team held their heads high. They were down 19 at one point. We knew from a matchup standpoint there were going to be so many different challenges and obviously a lot to get into. But I think if you're an Arizona fan, it may not feel great right now, but knowing that this was a 7-point game, knowing the way things played out, I think you still have to be smiling a little bit. I get the season's over, but at the same time, you look at what somebody like Caleb Love did today, and that's just got to make you happy.
Yeah, I mean, and look, in basketball, when you have the best player, then you're always most likely to win more often than not. And, Cooper Flagg had his A game. And when he plays his A game, he's the best player in college basketball. He's going to be the number one pick in the draft. And so I think for me, Arizona got down big in the second half. They got down big against Oregon in the first half. They could have tapped out. They could have quit. But this team all season has kind of been built on this attitude of like, we're going to be scrappy. We're going to play hard. We're going to play tough. Got them back in the game. And then, if we get a break on the second hook and hold that apparently wasn't a hook and hold, who knows what happens. But you can't be too upset with Arizona. They were a 9.5 point dog heading into the game. And they had to be nervous at the end.
And see, here's the thing that I think is annoying for a lot of people, though, too, is that and again, Duke was going to win this game. I'm not saying they weren't going to win this game. But Colton Hawthorne of the 499 Super Snap, I think, puts it really well. He says, at these refs, Duke couldn't be more proud of this team. Caleb is an Arizona legend, already excited for a potential Final Four next year. Yes, sir. Well, very well put, my friend. But listen, if you're going to call that flagrant foul on Jaden Bradley for bringing, which, again, gives you 2 shots and the ball, then you have to call that when Henry Vasar is brought to the ground as well, especially when you're able to review it. That is the other thing that it just annoyed me. I called Brogan. You were watching this and you were saying to yourself, okay, well, you're going to go review it. You review it and you come away saying that, there was nothing there. I was stunned by that.
Well, and the official saw it because he made the foul call on Duke. So he knew he pulled him down to some extent. Then they go review it. They instantly go to Gene Steratore, I think it was, and he's like, yep, excessive contact, pulls him down. They had the injury to the guy from Purdue. That's why they changed the rule. Easy call. And then they go to the microphone, and it's common foul. And everybody was like, what just happened? It's the craziest thing ever. Predictable because it's Duke, but that was crazy.
And even Jim Jackson said that. He's like, well, I didn't expect that. I mean, Ben, those are the kind of plays where people just look at. Those are the kind of plays where people just look at and you're like, what the heck's going on here?
Yeah, and I've never been the guy who says a ref is trying to help a particular player or team, but it's hard to look at what happened there and say, hey, they're not trying to help Duke out here. It made absolutely no sense. It was a clear flagrant.
Right. Okay, now we got, let's see here, my guy Tony, Bridge Tech. I blame Lloyd for starting Townsend and Del Orso in the second half. That's why they got down big. Not the way they ended. Still proud of the team. Like I said, I mean, I get it, but at the end of the day, I mean, that's what he's going with. There's some things that I probably would have done differently, but I look at this game though, and I still think to myself that I come away from this feeling okay. Duke's better than Arizona. Duke is a better. I believe Duke's going to win the national championship. Now listen, they've got the best player in the country. I think they got the most well-rounded team. I was very happy with how Arizona acquitted itself. Arizona was going to need to play a near perfect game, and it didn't play a near perfect game. You got a near perfect performance from Caleb Love, but Duke was just a better basketball team. And yeah, back the A-Ray says middle 10 minutes made the difference. Yes. The 5 minutes to end the first half and the 5 minutes to start the second half, that was probably your difference in the game right there, fellas.
Yeah, and I'll give Lloyd this. I mean, I'll defend him in the sense of he did try to get, and he got Carter Bryant in there early, but you just couldn't keep him in there because of the foul trouble. And ultimately he did foul out, and some of those other guys just in the front court did not play well. And it's not necessarily their fault because they were just so outmatched, and Flagg had a good first half on paper, but it felt like he wasn't as impactful as he could be. And then you see what happens there in the second half where things kind of just wear down on Arizona. Foul trouble obviously continues, and he just goes absolutely crazy. It's really hard when they have the three guys that they do to find some sort of rhythm to slow you down. And on top of that, it's not like Arizona had any easy looks either. Every single shot just felt so hard. You could tell Arizona was trying to play faster, get to the basket, but they just couldn't do it because from a size standpoint, they were just totally outmatched.
Everybody in the comments, can you give me the updates on the Tech game as well? Just keep that one going. I need Tech to win. All right, now I want to talk a little bit then about Caleb Love, my Caleb. This is going to be an interesting legacy because for 2 years the guy was really, really good, and he was an All-American last year. He was a Conference Player of the Year. He went toe to toe essentially with Cooper Flagg in this game. Won that game against Oregon, and yet, I don't know, a good percentage of the fan base crapped on him the whole time. It's an interesting one to look at. And, Brogan, you and I were talking about it that, Braden Burries, if you got Braden Burries coming in next year, sure, he might be a little bit more consistent, but he's not going to have the kind of games that we just saw from Caleb tonight. He's just not.
Yeah, and we've talked about this all season and a little bit last season. Like Caleb's job on this team, his role was to be the scorer, the primary guy who can get Arizona a bucket. And this game kind of summed up Caleb Love and his role. Arizona didn't have another dynamic scorer on the roster, period.
Correct.
And so when they run into a juggernaut like Duke and Caleb has a great game, we get nothing from anybody else. I think Bradley finished with, 15 points, but
yeah, but it was a meaningless 15.
Yeah.
Right. And so this game, I think in a lot of ways, it sums up Caleb's career at Arizona, shows the dynamic scorer that he is. And, I'm going to get roasted for this, but I don't really care. I think he's on an NBA roster next year.
I agree with you.
The bench.
I know. I totally agree. I totally agree with you. I don't, and it's like what Fran Fraschilla said. He said, he's bigger than a lot of people think. He can score the ball, and he's a good teammate on top of that, and he's an underrated passer as well. I think he is going to play on an NBA roster. And keep in mind, you also got beat up when you said that Arizona was going to be a 5 or a 6 seed earlier in this year. You were right. $4.99 super snap from my guy Tony from Bridge Tech. Yes, Caleb is officially an all-time great Wildcat. There is no Caleb slander. Yes, he was great. Ben, what were you going to say?
Yeah, I mean, Brogan was right about that. And I think on top of all that, Caleb's not a great defender, but he's certainly good enough. I mean, you think about how well-rounded his game has become outside of just becoming a scorer. So I'd be shocked if somebody doesn't at least give him a shot. And it's just cool to see, man. I mean, you think about what happened down the stretch. If he hits that three with like 3 minutes left, it's a 3-point game. There were just a number of different possessions where he put Arizona back in the game where they were trailing by double digits. It started to get a little bit out of hand, and Arizona would have a couple good sequences. And that's because of Caleb Love. It's not a 7-point game today if Caleb Love doesn't do what he does.
I would agree with that. Yes. Let's talk. We got another $9.99 from Norin. Hold on a second here. Let's see here. Norin Rudin. Glad Caleb went out like a stud. Side note: does Conrad remind anybody of Rudy Rudinger from the Notre Dame movie? What was it? What was it called? Rudy. Yeah, Rudy. Yeah, he does. Yes, he does look a little bit like that. Yes, for sure. And then we got a $20 one from M. Strom. Appreciate your coverage and hard work all season. Excited for next season already. We're going to be talking about that. Very much appreciate you, my man. But yes, that's the key. And I always bring up this point, and I think a lot of times when you get as you get people, keep those updates on the Tech game coming. You get a lot of people that, and I'm always going to quote Chuck on this because I still think it was one of his best quotes ever. The hardest thing in basketball is to score the basket. You can get guys. That is the ultimate skill in basketball. When people know that you are going to, you're going to be the one that's going to get the shot. That's why you look at Arizona. You've got a lot of really talented guys on this roster. Jaden Bradley's a talented dude. KJ Lewis did Tech win?
Tech up 2-1. Arkansas's got a chance to tie. Shot up. No good. Texas
All
Tech
right.
wins.
Yes. All right. Yes. Yes. SEC people, I will not back down yet. All right. But yeah, that's where I'm at though with this, is that the hardest thing in basketball is to score when people know you're going to score. Look at this entire roster. There's a one guy on the team that can do it when you know that you've got other people. KJ Lewis can't do it. I like a lot of what KJ Lewis can do. Jane Bradley can't do it. Nobody else on the Carter can't do it. Caleb Love is the one person that does that. And I think that's where people don't really necessarily understand that. And they're like, oh, he only shoots 43%. Dude, he's the only guy on the team that can do what he's doing. People don't get how difficult that is, Brogan.
Yeah. And again, the team would go as he went. Like we saw them win games. We saw him be, relatively conservative in a good way, though, where he was distributing the ball more, less shooting. But then you've seen a game like this where Arizona's getting down, struggling to score, and he turns up the heat a little bit, be a little more aggressive with his shot selection, and all of a sudden gets on a roll and gets Arizona back in the game. But, going into the year, we knew this team wasn't going to be an amazing shooting team, and we knew they weren't going to be able to just ISO, do a bunch of one-on-one stuff and get buckets. We relied on Tommy for offense and Caleb, and unfortunately,
yeah,
I hate to say we needed more offense in this game because we scored 93 and Duke scored 100. We probably needed more defense, but in that run where Duke went up, we couldn't get any offense going because we didn't have anybody dynamic who could score besides Caleb.
Oh yeah, and I think the problem, and it goes back to with what they have in the front court with Duke. I mean, Flagg goes without saying, but Awaka gave you nothing, Townsend gave you nothing, and Carter, more importantly, gave you nothing. I mean, offensively, those guys have had pivotal roles in big-time games down the stretch, and when they're combining for 11 points, I mean, that's just not going to get it done in a game like this. And Vasar was totally outmatched. I mean, we can talk about that there, but yeah, I mean, Caleb Love was the only consistent thing Arizona could do offensively today, and everything else was just so challenging, and there was no consistency outside of him whatsoever.
All right, did we have a super staff that just came in that I didn't read? If I did, let's see, bring it up. Yes, Terrence Wilmore, my guy, TJ Wilmore. Caleb is a boss. Bryant is a hell of a talent. We're going to get to that. But this team wasn't very good. Tommy did a good job of got everything out of them. Trey Sucks is small, not athletic. ADO is a rotational player. Both started. I think that's a really good point. I want to get to a couple of these comments here, and we'll Javier, you asked for the paw. You're about to get the glove. But first, let's get into the Green Valley decorative rock star of the game. Green Valley decorative rock. Welcome to the rock. Isn't that a good impression, Brogan? You've always been impressed by it. I don't think
it's so good. He's quiet.
I mean,
it.
I thought it was Sean Connery for a second.
Yeah. All right, yeah, that made me feel good.
Is my internet back?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we got you.
All right.
Yeah, you're good. Okay, now, either way, the Green Valley decorative rock star of the game, I am going to go with Caleb Love. All you people out there that were bashing Caleb all season, take that. Caleb Love was awesome. Again, Arizona lost, but at the same time, Caleb Love was great. Ben One White, I see you disagreeing with me. Why didn't you think he was great?
Aren't you going with my Caleb Love? Get it right, Michael. It's not just Caleb Love.
Everybody else get in there as my Caleb Love. You guys would agree with that, though.
Yeah,
yes.
This was an easy no-brainer. Great. And if this is how Caleb Love's career at Arizona had to end, I think this is a great ending. Him having a monster game against Duke. Yeah, but he was the clear player of the game.
All right. Now Javier. Javier is people like Javier always crack me up. Javier is in here, and we appreciate you listening, Javier. Javier is in every chat complaining about basically everything. But Javier, when we have his absence was conspicuous this morning when we were talking about Koa Pete committing to the University of Arizona. We had a lot of people asking in there about where is Javier? It was almost like good news happened, and Javier was nowhere to be found. Weird. But okay, Mike, let's hear the excuse. Grant an Elite Eight in 2 years. Lloyd, you know what? I can find a lot of people that in their first 4, their first 5, their first 6 years didn't do anything. Hey, there's a guy named Danny. This guy named Danny Hurley. He's probably the best coach in college basketball right now. Danny Hurley missed the tournament his first 2 years, and he got to the NBA, or he got and made and got bounced in the first round the next 2 years. Should they have gotten rid of Danny Hurley? Because guess what? In year 5 and 6, he won national championships. If you're going by that, Javier, you got to get rid of Danny Hurley. Guys, Danny Hurley sucks, correct?
If you ask him, he's the best coach in college basketball. He'll tell you that too. At least
Yes,
he'll tell
exactly.
the rest of
But I'm not sure. It's hard to argue with him right now. But that's my point, though, is that this whole thing about, Grant McCastle made the Elite Eight in his second year. Well, a lot of people don't that are Hall of Famers.
Well, and here's my better example is Kevin Keats just got fired, and he went to a Final Four 2 years ago, and he just got fired. So, come on. Making a Final Four is extremely hard to do. You have to have a bunch of talent. You have to get hot at the right time, and you need a few breaks. But we also at some point, we've set unrealistic expectations for a first-time head coach that he's got to make Final Fours in his first couple of years. When you really look at what he's done, he's the second winningest coach in the history of college basketball in the first 4 years of his coaching. So it's expectations have to be tempered. We all want to win. We all want to get a Final Four. We all want to get a natty. Sure. But give Lloyd some time. He's a new coach. He's figuring things out.
Ben, you're not. I can tell that Javier is a Gen Zer, as are you. Gen Zers, as I get older, very much annoy me. But Ben, you do not agree with this Gen Zer. This is true.
This is true. So does this mean if we're going to play this game that John Calipari should be fired? 1 year at Arkansas, loses in the Sweet 16. No, it's just silly. I mean, it's going to take time. And again, I think you have to look at the optics of it. You have to look at the matchups and just where things are. Arizona was going to have a very uphill battle if they were going to win this game today. They needed a lot of things to go right. They were outmatched across the board. It just likely wasn't going to happen. And I think, given where they were earlier in the year, given the way things shaked out, it's still awesome to me that the team came around and they were seated where they were and they made it this far. And I think you have to point to, obviously, the Krivas situation. You have to point to the fact that there's not really a backup point guard, although Conrad did get some run today, and I'm sure we'll talk a little bit more about him coming up. But there's just no college basketball team is perfect. Things are not going to go your way, whether it's injuries, whether it's scheduling, whether it's seeding. And time again, Tommy Lloyd has shown two things. A, the ability to kind of figure that out and play through it and probably go further than people anticipate. And B, players just gradually get better under him. So I think he said it best, earlier in the week on Monday when he was giving a press conference. We've been to 3 Sweet 16s. We're right there. We're doing just okay.
Yeah, and there's a Michael Natowski of Green Valley Decorative Rock. Michael Natowski. This is also true. It's very true. This is why you want to be a top 3 seed. You want to avoid having to play a team like this as long as possible. You want to play them in the Elite Eight. You don't want to play them in the Sweet 16 because, again, these are generally games that you're going to end up losing. Now, I want to tell a story about my mom who's in the chat and the MNBA reference that John Brogan made. So my mom is a very passionate person, very passionate. And I've been trying to get her away from politics where she's just yelling at the screen all day. And she's done a good job of it. But she's become a big MNBA fan. And so she watches MNBA every night now. We need to get Caleb Love into the MNBA so that mom has another team that she has a Wildcat on there that she can root for. Mom, we're going to try to make this happen any way we can, but that is it. That's my mom's story right there. No politics, Mom. Go and again MNBA. So I agree with you, though. I do think he's going to find his way onto a roster. Now, I want to talk a little bit about Carter Bryant. Here's where I'm at with Carter Bryant. Listen, if he, yes, the MNBA, it's kind of a running joke on the show. But here's where I'm at with Carter Bryant. Listen, he's probably going to be a first-round pick. But I will say this, if I could get 1.2, or if I could give him 1.2 million or whatever to come back for another year, I think it would be a world of good for the young man. Again, he can make a lot of money. I get all of that. But at the same time, against a really, really good team, you could still tell that he looked like he was about 17 years old in that one. I mean, he is not close to being ready to be able to play in the NBA, and it doesn't really matter if he wasn't close to being ready. I get a lot of people but If you can get $1 million and really work on your craft, and Brogan, you make a good point. Tell them about, when you're a late first round pick, how much different it is.
Yeah. And so before NIL, it used to be if you were a first round pick, you go to the league no matter what, even if you're the 29th, 30th pick, because it's guaranteed money. Good to go. It's hard to turn that down. Too many things. I think about the dude who went to Duke, 10 years ago. That was the consensus number one. Ended up being at Duke for 2 years. Was out of the league in 3 years. I can't remember his name. A big dude, 6'10". It'll come to me later. But anyways, now with NIL, it's a little different. And so if you're drafted in the lottery, a team's using a lottery pick on you. They're fully invested in you developing and turning out to be a good player because they've wasted substantial draft capital on you. If you flame out, you don't develop. But if they draft you 20th, 25th, 30th in the draft, you might get 6 months to show what you can do. And if not, they're drafting the next guy 25th. The Nuggets are taking the next guy at 25. The Thunder, the next guy.
A GM has no reason to also that's not Okafor he's talking about. Okafor was 1 year. But a GM has no reason. If they draft you in the lottery, they need you to be able to be good because guess what? It's a black mark against them if they don't do well. If they draft you with the 28th pick and it doesn't work out, boo-hoo! Nobody really cares at that point. Benwin White, I see you agreeing.
Yeah, I mean you're done, right? And they'll just move on. And I think given the money, right, and given just how things have changed, I think the logical decision is to come back, right? If you're not a lottery pick, you're going to make more money. You're going to be able to correct things without being under the microscope because if you play the way you did today, your leash isn't as long on an NBA roster and you're going to get buried very quickly in the G League. And then, your opportunity's gone within 10 months to a year. And then what do you do? It's so hard to work your way back from there because to your guys' point, they're just going to draft more players.
Yes, I don't now Brooke I don't Meisner, the great Meisner. I don't buy staying just because you're not in the lottery. Yeah, you can make a lot of money and develop, but there will be a new slew of lottery picks next year. But the thing about it though is that Carter has the amount of upside though that I don't worry about who else is in the draft. I worry about what Carter can bring because Carter is 6'8". He can shoot the ball. He just needs to get stronger. He needs to get smarter out there. He's got a next level to him that I don't necessarily worry about who's in the draft, who's not. I worry he's got the type of talent that you look at and you're like, okay, what can he do? And I worry more about Carter than I worry about what, who else is in the draft at that point. So.
Yeah. And just back to the lottery thing is lottery picks are super valuable in the NBA because again, you only have a 14% chance of getting the number one pick if you've got the worst record in the league. So if teams are going to invest a lottery draft pick on you, lottery picks typically hit late in the draft. Right. The hit rate goes down by like 3 times. So it's Harry Giles, by the way, is who I was talking about.
Oh, Harry Giles.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yes, you were wrong on Harry Giles. Didn't you like Harry Giles and I didn't like Harry Giles?
I don't know. That was 20 years ago, bro. 10 years ago. I don't remember that one. But the point for Bryant is he's got to work on his handle. He's got to get a little smarter. He's got to get a little better on defense. I hate to use Cooper Flagg as the comp because he's, kind of generational at this point, but you saw the difference between the two on the TV today. Carter's nowhere near being ready for the NBA today. So if he goes to the league now, he could get swallowed up in a year and be gone because if he doesn't develop fast enough, he's going to be a two-way player for who knows how long until he can figure it out.
All right, now let's get into the next. What do we got next? Cody James Martin, bring it up. All right, the Arizona primary eye care. Good look of the game. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go with the Caleb Love play in the first half where he had a couple of them. One that went off of Henry's hand out of bounds or whatever when he got into the paint. And I think there was another one in there as well. But I'm going to go with Caleb Love. He had a couple nice passes in the first half. What do you guys say?
I'll go with the Henry dunk, and then I'll just go with Caleb Love's stats across the board.
Okay, cool. I like that. What do you like? What do you got there, Mr. John Brogan?
For the good look of the game, I don't remember who threw the pass.
Henry for the lob was really nasty one too. The one-handed dunk. That was good.
That's the one I'm going with. I don't remember who threw it, but Henry catching the lob back behind his head and throwing it down was
Bradley.
That was the one. Bradley. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. All right. We're gonna get to Koa. We're gonna get to Koa Pete here in just a second. So yeah. And the other thing, somebody in there said, and again, you guys are all smarter than me, so I'm not picking on you. He's nothing like Mike Dunleavy. He is far more fluid than. He's far more fluid than Mike Dunleavy. He can get to where he needs to get to on the court better than Mike Dunleavy. He's stronger than Mike Dunleavy. He's just better all around than Mike Dunleavy.
I'm assuming everybody in the chat knows this, but Cooper Flagg was giving NBA players the business when he was on the select team. All the pros talk about it. Durant, they all talk about how he was giving them the business a year and a half ago. He's not Mike Dunleavy.
Yeah, Mike Dunleavy was a solid. This guy, Cooper Flagg, Mike Dunleavy's upside was never first team all MNBA. This guy's upside is first team all MNBA. He's not generational. Will make all stars, but never an NBA. I'll bet you he's an all NBA player, Tim. I'll bet you he's an all NBA player. Now, again, if you want to say that, that's not the same, but I would be pretty surprised if he's not on an all NBA, because here's the thing. He doesn't have any weaknesses. Now, you might say, well, he's not going to be like LeBron James or whatever, but at the end of the day, he's awesome. I mean, he's awesome. He checks off every single box. And I've said it, we were talking before, this is the best white domestic player prospect since Larry Bird. Just is. I mean, he's awesome. Flagg isn't better than Van Horn. Those dudes, respectfully, man, I'm going to disagree with you on that one. Adam Morrison, I knew that Adam Morrison was going to suck in the NBA. That was not one. All right, let's get to a couple of the super snaps. We got 2 more super snaps coming in. What do we got here, Cody? Bring them up. All right, now KJ gets mad love. He shut down Cooper when they went on that run in the second half. Hope he comes back. I hope KJ comes back as well. I know a lot of people are out on KJ, but KJ's, again, KJ's got flaws. He's always going to have flaws. But at the end of the day, KJ also does all. It's like Tommy Lloyd said, he does a lot more good than he does bad. He's going to do some frustrating things, and I think people forget about that. And Bab says, eventually the chips will fall again for us. Positive vibes only. People don't understand things could be a lot worse where the program is. Bear down. Keith Van Horn was the second pick after 4 years in college. Cooper Flagg's going to be the first pick when he should be a senior in high school. That's the difference. Carter Bryant needs more girth. Yes, totally agree with you on that. Rick Patton, $10. The rest of my per diem for the week. Thank you for all the coverage. Back the A. Very much appreciate you, Rick. Very much appreciate it. All right, I want to talk about Koa Pete here for a second. Obviously, this was a massive. And I'll give you my predictions here at the end of the show. This was a huge thing for people that say that Tommy Lloyd can't recruit, that Tommy Lloyd can't get who he wants. Koa Pete could go absolutely anywhere in the world that he wanted to. I mean, and Arizona was around. Arizona made it competitive. Arizona was able to get him a financial package around that $1 million range, and they were able to get him. Guys, you can't really minimize getting Koa Pete. This was a huge thing.
Yeah, so Arizona, typically, we talk about this all the time. When you look back over time, Gatorade, Arizona Gatorade Player of the Years, all those things, they really only go to Arizona. Maybe occasionally they leave the state, but 80-90% of the time they're going to Arizona. Right. This one never felt like it was a deadlock no-brainer like Channing Frye, like Jared Bayless, right?
Because he didn't grow up an Arizona fan, and he thought he was going to be a football player until he was in 8th grade. It's a different trajectory.
Yeah, and it's NIL, right? Teams can throw back. Miami showed up late with a whole bunch of money that ended up not mattering. But in the end, Tommy, when he zeroes in on his targets, as frustrating as it is that he recruits like 1.5 players a cycle, so far he's hitting. So it's kind of hard to argue. I don't love it, but I can't argue with the results because he's getting the guys he targets. So
yeah. Ben White.
Yeah, and I think it's ultimately we'll see what kind of player he ends up being. I think it'll be a very, very good result for Arizona fans. But at the same time, you can point to him and say, all right, that's the difference maker right there in terms of recruiting that fans have been waiting for when it comes to Tommy Lloyd. He zoned in on him. He focused on him. To Brogan's point, it was all over the place. You didn't know for certain. And Arizona's in a really good spot because you look at what he brings. You look at some of these guys who will come back. This roster, despite some of the flaws, is shaping up to look very nice next season, Mike Luke.
Yeah, very much. So I'm going to give some of my predictions here. And again, you could say at the end of the day, I'm an idiot. So, if I'm wrong, just chalk it up to me being an idiot. I believe Henry Vasar will be back. Henry Vasar is winning on and off the court. Sometimes you don't want to, mess with what's working. Koa Pete is going to be your power forward next year. I believe that Jaden Bradley will be your point guard. And again, if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. I'll own it. I believe you're starting. This is just my guess. I believe your starting five next year is going to be Jaden Bradley, Braden Burries, KJ Lewis, Koa Pete, and Henry Vasar. And I'm going to take that every single day of the week. We'll talk about the substitutes in a second. But Brogan, you and I were talking about it. That's you win a lot of games with that roster. And I think that's Tommy's most complete roster.
Yeah. And I think the only edit to that was if somehow Carter decides to change his mind and doesn't stay in the draft, then he becomes the 3 and KJ's out.
Right.
I think that the thing that's most interesting to me is Arizona under Tommy Lloyd hasn't had a player like Koa Pete. Nobody even close. They've had good power forwards in Tabellis, Keyshawn Johnson, but they haven't had anybody like Pete. So I think it'll be interesting to see what Tommy's able to do with him. But yeah, I think at this point, it's pretty safe to say it's Bradley Burries, KJ / Carter with KJ having the edge, and then Koa Vasar. Krivas coming off the bench, obviously.
Yeah, I would love for a Carter, because here's the thing. If you have a starting lineup of, and Ben, if you have a starting lineup of Burries, Carter, Jaden, Koa, and Vasar, I think that's probably about as good a team as there is in the country, period.
Yeah, I think it's a top 5 roster. Now things will shake out. I mean, it's going to be a late cycle for a lot of these teams, just given the transfer portal and given the way things are now. But I think top to bottom, it's probably, and really easily, your most talented starting 5. I think that Lloyd's had here in quite some time. And you talk about Koa Pete, just Koa Pete. Yeah, right. Koa Pete just being a difference maker that you just haven't seen down low, and what that does for Arizona. And you think about a game like tonight, man, it would sure be nice to have somebody like that. Maybe you slow somebody like Flagg down just a little bit, where they had no ability to do that whatsoever, and things just get easier for Arizona from a matchup standpoint. And it'll be nice to see how things fill in, but you got to feel good about next year.
Yeah, and then so talking about some of the other ones, this is just a guess. I believe that Awaka, and I got no problem with this. I love Toby Awaka is way better than I ever thought he was going to be here. Toby Awaka is the man. I do believe though that he'll probably go to a place, because again, your starting front court's pretty much set now. It's going to be Vasar and it's going to be Koa, and you're most likely going to have Krivas and Aristod there, and who knows what's going to happen with Steven. But those are that's kind of what you're looking at. And Awaka is too good not to start. And again, in this day and age, if I'm Awaka and I'm not starting and I'm basically being told I'm going to play 12 to 15 minutes, I'm going to Texas Tech. I'm going to a place like that because, Brogan, like we talked about, this Awaka's good. I mean, Awaka's pure. I mean, he's a good basketball player that can play. Awaka can play 30 minutes per game on a top 25 team.
Well, and Awaka started the second half of the season. So I don't think he comes back to Arizona to come off the bench. But more importantly, Tommy Lloyd said that he expected Krivas to be their best player this season. Like, he expected a huge jump from freshman to sophomore year. He ended up getting hurt and all that. But it goes to show you what Tommy thinks about Mo Krivas. So we know what we get from Vasar. Tommy thinks Mo Krivas is the best player on his roster. He's getting 20, 25 minutes a game next year. Koa didn't come to Arizona to play 12 minutes a game off the bench. He's getting 25 minutes a game. There's only 10 or 12 minutes left. That's not Awaka. Now,
right.
could that be Emmanuel Steven? Sure, I could see him stepping into a 10 to 12 minute per game role, but Awaka, there's no way he's coming off the bench for 10 minutes a game. Just ain't happening.
Yeah, and the other thing too that, by the way, I think it was Andy Bryant, the great Andy Bryant. Doesn't Toby Awaka feel like a Rick Pitino player? He's from
or Texas Tech. Like that's a good. I think that's a good fit too.
I'm just saying that he's from New York. That just that the St. John's
Yeah.
thing just kind of makes sense to me. But either way, Arizona's going to have a really good team next year. One thing, and again, Murph tells me this all the time. You can't sleep on Dwayne Aristod. Look at just look at some of his highlights. Look at what he's done. Dwayne Aristod is a beast. He's just got to be healthy. If he's healthy, then that's going to be And Krivas has a lot to prove. But one thing I want to talk about that here in a second. But I think that there's something we need to talk about with Krivas having a lot to prove. But I think Tommy's got a little bit of a track record here that we should probably bank on. But first, what do we got here, Cody James Martin? RJ's frozen cactus. Now, you might say to yourself, the RJ's frozen cactus moment of the game. I'm going to say the moment of the game, unfortunately, was the Caleb Love step back 30-footer with 9 seconds left that missed. And then Carter didn't grab the rebound. And then Cooper Flagg came down and made the three. That was a 6-point game, went from possibly being tied to 6. And again, I know that didn't have the real, but at the end of the day, that was a huge swing right there.
Yeah, it gave you some hope. You felt like Arizona was a possession away after you saw for, I think, previous 5 minutes, it was a double-digit deficit, and then it was a 7-point deficit and a 5-point deficit. And at that moment, it could have been close and didn't happen.
Yeah. What do you think, bro?
I'm gonna go with the ghost hook and hold. 7-point game.
Yeah,
we should have got 2 shots in the ball. Pretty soon it could be a 2-3-point game. With 4 or 5 minutes to go, plenty of time for Arizona to grind it out. So the fake non-hook and hold, if Arizona had a chance to really turn it, that was going to be it.
I think that was a really good one. Now, here's where I'm at with Tommy. I know there's people in here, and again, Krivas, I was not impressed by anything that I saw from Krivas this year. I can't really, but Tommy's got a really darn good track record with big men at this point. A lot better than I think I do. And he said this entire time, he said, listen, man, he said, Henry's going to be a player for us. I didn't see it. I really didn't. I didn't see Henry being that. Henry has become an MNBA type prospect, and he's going to be a monster. He's going to be a monster next year. You look at the other ones. He turned Umar Ballo into an all-conference player. He turned, again, Keyshawn Johnson. I can keep going. The dude knows big men. He knows what he's looking at for big men. So I have a hard time not just saying, you know what, Tommy Lloyd, you have a really good track record on this. I'm going to go with that.
And I think it's pretty safe to assume Krivas came into the preseason with a foot injury, played a little bit, ended the season with the same foot injury. And so I think it's pretty safe to assume that his foot was never fully healed, didn't heal properly, whatever, and never got in shape, slowed him down. So, I trust Tommy with big men, certainly. So I expect Krivas to come back and at least be a really good offensive complement to Vaser. Vaser's much more of defense first, rim runner, that type of thing, hit an open three maybe. Krivas is throw me the ball on the block and I can score. So I think they complement each other. I don't love the athleticism of either of them, but they're both 7 feet. So, you can kind of get away with it. But yeah, I'm excited next year.
And I think it does help a little bit. Brooks Subi says, I hate skinny, soft. I see. Here's the centers. I don't think, and again, I can't speak for Krivas because I haven't really watched him, but Henry's not soft. I mean, you could say that he needs to get stronger. Henry tries to dunk everything. Henry tries to challenge people at the rim. How many? I mean, Brogan, you and I have watched a lot of soft white guy or soft. Well, white guys at the U of A. We know what it looks like. Ben Brogan, Henry's not soft.
He's not Kirk Walters, I'll tell you that.
He ain't Kirk Walters. He ain't Alex Jacobson. He ain't, any of that stuff. So again, he's not soft.
Yeah, I agree. And he was part of what made Arizona good this year is his physicality, his aggressiveness, his edge, him trying to dunk on people, him trying to block shots. So I don't have an issue with them. When I think about athleticism, I'm not worried about shot blocking. I'm more worried about, can we hedge screens? Can we cut off, penetration out on the perimeter, things of that nature. But again, him and Krivas are both 7 feet. Well, that solves a lot of problems when you're, trying to guard people. So
yes, exactly.
And I think they'll complement each other very well. I mean, Krivas' defense, he's physicality. or excuse me, that's Henry. Grievous is more of a guy you kind of just throw the ball in there. He scores. He's got more length. I think he's got more skill, obviously. And I think it's going to take some pressure off Faisar, right? Because there are moments where he is just out of it from a matchup standpoint. Fouling is an issue. And I think Grievous is going to take the majority of that load, and that'll free up time for Henry when he comes in to really be more impactful. So I think when you look at those two in that position at the 5, it's a good problem to have if you're Tommy Lloyd.
Yeah, it's a good problem to have. I think next year, it's going to be his most talented team. I think that it's going to begin. There's going to still be questions, but a big thing for me is Carter, though. Now let's see here. Mike Luke, does Lloyd hire a top defensive assistant? We're going to talk about this tomorrow. I do believe that Jack Murphy, TJ Benson, these guys are workaholics. You got to get a third coach in there that is a grinder when it comes to recruiting. Steve Robinson, he gets a lifetime achievement award. I give him all of that, but you've got to have, in this day and age, you got to have 3 coaches that are out there recruiting and doing all of that stuff. I would look for an upgrade there. I don't have any insight on that, but I'd like to see I'd like to see a little bit of that. Also, real quick, I think that and Gardner's not a coach, so that's not a thing. I do think that Duke is going to beat Alabama because Alabama is going to make like 1-3 next game. What say you guys?
I think the Prudential Center is the most shooter-friendly gym in the history of gyms.
That
Duke
is
and
true.
Arizona made threes. Alabama set a record with 25 threes.
Right.
Duke is elite defensively. They got length all over the floor. So Alabama's not just going to shoot 50 threes against Duke.
They're not.
Alabama doesn't guard, so Duke's going to be able to score at will on them.
Yeah, I think that's Alabama will blow out Duke. I disagree with that. What is that line out yet?
Let's see.
It's out. I mean, we got to look it up, but
it's got to be
out by now. Yeah. I'm guessing it's Duke by 5 or 6.
Yeah, I would say Duke 5 or 6, and I think Duke's going to cover that. Mike Orlando Antigua. That's what I'm talking about, though. You need to get an Orlando Antigua type in there, and I think that I don't know that I would necessarily get Orlando Antigua, but that would be a good one. Yes, Jerry Race, the
6.5. The line's 6.5. So
yeah, I think they cover that one. Honestly, I think they win by about 10 points. Duke's again. I could be wrong. I just think Duke is the best team in the country. I think they're the biggest team in the country. I saw somebody on Twitter say that they're not that imposing or whatever. I think it's the most imposing team in basketball. Now, you might say they're not imposing because they're white or they got a lot of white guys or something, but that's the most imposing team in basketball. You look across the board, 6'6", 6'6", 6'6", 6'10", 7'1", whatever the case may be. They're good. I mean, they are really, really good, guys. I don't know what else to say there.
Well, they don't have any weaknesses.
Right. No, they don't have any weaknesses, and they have a clear scoring edge over a team like Houston. Again, I just keep going back to the fact that you can't be in games come this time of year where you're just not able to put up, 85 plus in an easy way. And Duke put up 100 effortlessly tonight. I mean, It was just so easy for them.
Right, for sure. All right, do we have let's see, 2 white guys? Did I miss someone? Let's see, you got, let's see here. You've got Con Knipple.
You got Flagg, Knipple, and Proctor.
Yeah, Proctor. Proctor's like half, so you got 2.5. Yeah, there we go. That's what we go. It's tall and girthy. Yes, by the way, did you guys hear the girth reference for Awaka during the game? Did you guys hear that?
Who was it, Jim Jackson?
Yeah, Jim Jackson said something about he's not the tallest guy, but he makes up for it with girth. He said that, and again,
he's been watching the AZ12 podcast.
Dude, let's be honest here. Get on that wagon. Who is not watching the? Yes, guys. See people in there. People saw it. Yes, Jimmy said girth. It was great. So again, they can never take that away from us. Even though Arizona lost, they can never take that away from it. That's where, yes, girth city, baby. Okay, now, Cody, do we have any more reads? All right, back to the Aris. Look ahead. Well, the season's over, so we're going to look ahead towards next year. I think that Arizona, next year is going to be Arizona's, I think it's going to be Tommy's best team. I think he's going to do a really good job. I also think that Tommy is going to continue to show people like Javier that he's a good coach, no matter what Javier thinks. What do you guys think?
So For my look ahead, it's Braden Burries only, because what I want after this year is I want the most certainty possible with our starting five, and
Yes.
knowing these guys can play. I don't need another Trey Townsend scenario where we miss in the portal. The bench,
Right.
we can take some chances with some portal guys, all good. But I want to, if we get Burries, then I know our starting five is locked, ready to go, going to be awesome. We can fill in the bench on that. So,
and here's the thing, Ben. Whether it's KJ Lewis or Carter Bryant, obviously, if it's one of the two, I'd prefer Carter Bryant. But by the way, Mike Nitowski, maybe you could give him some Green Valley decorative rock stuff to be able to maybe encourage him to come back.
send him a couple pet or friend rocks.
Yes, exactly, something like that. But either way, that's a really good team. That's a really, really good team, Ben One White.
It is. And to Brogan's point, you want that 5 just to be legit, and you want no questions whatsoever when it comes to shooting, spacing, defense, rebounding, whatever it is. You want all of that answered. And that's why all of the attention turns now to Burries, because you're losing Caleb Lubb, and that is a big hole to fill right there. And you've got to find a way to make up for it. Burries would do that. I'm not saying he'll be as good as Caleb Lubb right away. Obviously, Caleb Lubb is a lot older. He's been in college basketball for quite a long time, but you got to find a way to fill that. We can't have holes at the guard. We can't have holes down low at center, which Henry and Kribis are healthy. You're not going to have that, but you just don't want to find yourselves in the situation that you did this year, where depth is a problem and just things that you could have fixed when it comes to roster construction, just by being a little bit maybe more strategic with your recruiting, offering more guys. I get you're going to miss on guys in the portal. Totally get that. But 1 through 5, you got to be able to close your eyes and sleep well at night.
By the way, is there anything that he's not here, but we've talked about it on air. I'm not making this up. Shearer definitely has something against KJ Lewis. This is true.
Yeah. And Koa Pete for that matter, but that's okay. That's
but the KJ Lewis one is crazy. The KJ Lewis one is crazy, though. If he plays well, we never hear from him. If it does, it's he's not crying in the locker. Oh, come on, who cares, dude? So either way, we're just having fun. But all right, now tomorrow we're going to be back at 10:30. Though we're going to be talking. Looking ahead, because Arizona basketball never sleeps, and we've got a lot going on. I want to read the. Let's see here. Yeah, I agree with you, P. Hoff. I think he can. Yes, Skier is a certified KJ. Yes, I'll take KJ Lewis every single day of the week. Okay, now we got to read the super snaps again one more time. Let's see here. Okay, Colton Hawthorne, great name. F these refs and Duke, but couldn't be more proud of this team. Caleb is an Arizona legend. Already excited for potential Final Four next year. Yes, yes, yes. All right, now what else do we got? Bridge Tech Communications, my guy Tony. I blame Lloyd for starting Townsend and Del Orso in the second half. That's why they got down big. Not the way to end the first half went. Still proud of the team. Let's see here. Bridge Tech Communications. Caleb is officially an all-time Wildcat great. Yes, sir. There's no more Caleb slander. Very much appreciate that. Norin Rudin, $9.99. Glad Caleb went out like a stud. Side note, does Conrad remind anybody of Rudy Rudiger? What's the name of the movie that Rudy Rudiger was in, guys?
Still Rudy.
Still Rudy, man.
It hasn't changed since then. And appreciate your coverage and hard work all year. Excited for next season. Mstrom 2800. Very much appreciate you.
Going back to that comment about Rudy, that is Sean Astin, and I texted Jason, Shelby, and Mike during the game that he looked like Sean Astin. And are we sure that Conrad's just not a really tall hobbit?
No, I mean. I think he's probably a little tall. I mean, the guy's like 5'9". I don't know that that's necessarily a hobbit, but
in basketball,
that would make Mike Luke a hobbit.
Yeah, Mike Luke a tall hobbit, baby. Yeah, all right. Let's see here. What else do we got? Armstrong, appreciate your coverage. Terrence Wilmore, TJ Wilmore, very much appreciate that. Caleb is a boss. Bryant is a heck of a talent, but this team wasn't very good. Tommy did a good job, got everything out of it. Trey sucks, is small and not athletic. ADO is a rotational player, both started. Yep, it is what it is. Now, let's see here. KJ gets mad love. He shut down Cooper when we went on that run. Hope he comes back the array. I agree with that. Now, Eventually, the chips will fall again for us. Positive vibes only. People don't understand things could be a lot worse where the program is. Bear down. And Carter needs more girth. John Taylor, $4.99. I would agree with that. And OC Bodybuilders, $4.99. Very much appreciate that. Jeremy Snavely, $9.99 super sticker. Okay. And Rick Dean.
Can I say this, though, about ADO real quick?
Sure.
If we would have said at the end of the year, Mike Luke, ADO would be getting Arizona to the Sweet 16,
right.
I think you would find that interesting.
And make the first 6 points of the game. Yes.
Yep.
Yeah. All right. What else do we got here? I think that's it. All right, everybody. We will be back with you tomorrow. Me and Brogan. You guys are fantastic. OC Bodybuilders, $199. Back to AZ12 merch. I got 3 items today. Very much appreciate you, my man. Very much appreciate you. You guys are the best. Okay. All right. We will be back. We will be back with you tomorrow, 10:30. No days off around here. Lude is my daddy. Great content this season. Back the A. You guys are all the best. But again, we're not going anywhere. We'll be back with you tomorrow. Okay. For John Brogan, Benwin White, I am merely Mike Luke, Cody James Martin, everybody in there. You guys are the best. Reminder, it's always awesome to be an Arizona Wildcat fan. TTFN until tomorrow.